My stepbrother claimed I was dead so he could take my share of our father's estate. He walked into probate court with a straight face, filed papers that said I had passed unexpectedly, and handed over a forged death certificate with my name on it. He thought I'd never find out. I walked into that courtroom alive. When the judge saw me standing there, the whole room froze. I'll start at the beginning because how this happened is as important as how it ended. My dad married my stepmother when I was 11. She had a son, Brian, a year older than me. We tried the instant brothers thing, shared a room, yelled over video games, navigated those awkward blended family dinners where everyone is polite and no one knows what to do with the gravy boat. Then we grew up, and Brian grew into someone who always had an angle. If there was a line, he wanted to be on the other side of it, preferably with your wallet and a good excuse. Dad was a patient man, maybe too patient. He worked as a contractor, then a small business owner. He saved. He kept neat folders. He kept more than one receipt from 1998 just in case. He tried to treat us equally, to the decimal. But Brian's mother was always whispering about fairness that somehow kept becoming more for Brian. By the time we were adults, the gravitational pull of their needs was constant. Dad still loved me. Brian was the one circling, asking for help, floating ideas like, we could get ahead of probate if you just. You get the idea. When Dad got sick in his 70s, I stepped in. Doctor visits, calendars, blood work, and pharmacy pickups. Brian popped up mostly when money was involved. He'd say, let me handle the accounts, or, Dad, investments need active management. I can take that off your plate. Dad never handed him control. He kept his own lawyer. He kept his own files. He kept telling us, when the time comes, it's 50-50. When Dad passed, the will said exactly that. The estate divided equally between me and Brian, half and half. Not complicated. Brian has never been satisfied with half. 3 months after the funeral, a letter arrived from the probate court. It wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to the estate of my name. It referenced a hearing about distribution to the surviving heir. I called the probate clerk. There's been a mistake, I said. I'm alive. She sounded confused. According to the filings, you're deceased. I stared at the wall and said, the only sentence that fit. I'm on the phone with you right now. She asked me to come in with ID. At the counter, she slid a file through the glass. Brian had filed an affidavit stating I was dead. Attached was a photocopy of a death certificate from another county with my full name, birth date, and a date of death 6 weeks earlier. At first glance, it looked official. Then the seam showed. Wrong middle initial, hospital listed that doesn't exist. A physician's signature that looked like a squiggle copied off a napkin. The seal was a printed circle with the wrong county crest. He submitted this? I asked. She nodded. If you want it corrected, you'll need to appear at the hearing. Bring multiple forms of identification. The judge will need to see you. I stepped outside and sat on the cold stone planter because my legs didn't trust the sidewalk. If he could kill me on paper, what else was he willing to do? For the next week, I gathered every proof of life I had: passport, driver's license, birth certificate, social security card, a utility bill with my name and address, tax transcripts, even my company ID. I called Dad's lawyer, who was as stunned as I was. I'll be there, he said. Bring everything. The night before the hearing, I didn't sleep. My brain kept projecting a movie I didn't want to watch. Brian standing with a folder saying, he passed, and the judge nodding, and the gavel landing like a door. People think probate is a machine that works in slow motion. Sometimes it's faster than a lie. Morning came anyway. I sat in the back of the courtroom with my lawyer, my folder on my knees like a seatbelt. Brian walked in with his mother. He wore a suit that didn't quite belong to him and a face that said he expected applause. She wore black, because of course she did. The clerk called the case. Brian stepped up. The judge asked him to explain the petition. My stepbrother passed earlier this year, Brian said smoothly. I'm the sole heir. We'd like to consolidate the estate. Documentation? The judge asked. Brian handed over the death certificate. He had the calm of a person who thinks paper outranks oxygen. I stood. Your Honor, I object because I'm right here. The room went quiet in that particular way courtrooms do when truth shows up wearing boots. Heads turned. Brian drained white. His mother made a sound that wasn't a word. The judge squinted at me. State your name. I did. I handed over my passport and driver's license. He compared photos, checked birth dates, looked down at the paper that said I was a ghost. Counsel, the judge said to Brian's attorney, or maybe just to Brian, because I noticed his lawyer wasn't with him. Do you want to explain why your very much alive stepbrother has been declared dead in your filings? Brian stammered. I must have been misinformed. By whom? The judge's tone sharpened. You filed the affidavit. You signed it under penalty of perjury. Did you fabricate this certificate? It came in the mail. I fought, he said, and the judge put a hand up like a stop sign. Enough. Clerk, mark the certificate for possible criminal referral. The hearing didn't end there, but the case did. Instead of consolidating the estate, the judge ordered an investigation, set a new hearing, and made it clear Brian's credibility was on the floor. My lawyer whispered, "Breathe." I realized I hadn't in a while. Outside, Brian tried a new strategy. Look, man, it was a mix-up. You buried me on paper, I said. You tried to steal Dad's estate by erasing me. He opened his mouth, then closed it. His mother muttered, "Miscommunication," the word people use when they've run out of better ones. I walked away. That's the headline. Here's the detail that keeps people safe. The fake certificate. I brought it to the Vital Records office in the county it claimed to be from. The clerk there took one look and shook her head. Wrong format. Wrong seal, wrong registrar. She gave me a short letter on letterhead, confirming no death certificate existed for me. I also called the state Vital Records office. They flagged my name for possible identity misuse in their system and told me to keep copies of the court minute order showing the fraud. I asked if anyone had tried to file my death with Social Security. They checked. No death report had been submitted. The phrase made my stomach flip, but the answer was no. I learned something. More systems rely on each other than you think. A forged death certificate might not get you into every room, but it only has to fool one clerk to start a chain reaction. So you break the chain where you can. I filed a notice of appearance on the probate case, so the court would serve me every filing. I double-checked my mailing address with the probate clerk and asked for electronic notifications on the docket where available. I gave the court 2 phone numbers and wrote all notices to both. Paper might be slow, but when it's pointed at you, it gets there. I sat with Dad's lawyer and built a timeline. When Dad died, when the will was filed, when the first letters to heirs went out, when the forged certificate was submitted, we attached my proof of life documents, the Vital Records letter, and copies of every email the court had on file. We kept it boring, which is how you win. Back home, I did the unglamorous work that makes quiet lives possible. I requested a certified copy of my birth certificate not because I needed it for court, but because identity thieves go shopping where documents are flimsy. I created a My Social Security account so no one else could set one up and mark me as deceased. I set a fraud alert with the 3 major credit bureaus. I asked my bank and brokerage to add voice passwords and to note my account. No profile changes without verbal confirmation from customer. No third-party instructions. I updated beneficiaries because probate moves the leftovers, not the accounts that pass by designation, and I didn't want the leftovers to be my life. The district attorney's office reached out the following week. The clerk's referral had landed. An investigator asked for a statement. I sent copies of everything: court filings, the forged document, the letter from the real Vital Records office, the transcript page where the judge said, "Possible criminal referral." I didn't demand charges. I supplied proof. There's a difference. Meanwhile, probate still had to proceed. The assets needed to be inventoried. The house had to be appraised. Taxes had to be addressed. Grief makes you want to lie down. Paper wants you to stand up. I stood up. Brian tried one more stunt. He filed a supplement claiming I had waived my share in a conversation. The judge didn't even pretend politeness this time. Get counsel, he told Brian, and stop filing stories. He issued a short order that was a long relief. Distribution per will equal shares to the 2 heirs. When the order came through, I sat in my car and read it twice. 50-50, just like Dad intended. The farm he loved didn't magically stop being a farm because someone lied in a courthouse. The house didn't move off its foundation because someone printed a seal. Paper can bend reality for a minute. Reality has a spine. People asked why I didn't just cut ties with Brian years ago. I wish cutting ties could prevent damage. It doesn't. Schemes don't respect your boundaries. They respect what paper allows. The hard thing isn't cutting a person out of your daily life. It's keeping them out of the file drawer. If you're still here, subscribe. This channel is daily and justice-driven family money, probate, POA, deed, and identity theft. Names changed. Details tight. Not legal advice. If a story can save you a year of headaches, I want you to hear it today, not after the hearing you didn't know about. Looking back, the red flags were waving years ago. At a barbecue, Brian once joked, "Hey, if you disappear, I get everything, right?" Everyone laughed. I didn't. I told him not to joke like that. He smirked. "Who says I'm joking?" I told myself it was a bit. Here's a bitter truth. Some jokes are just trial balloons. If no one pops them, they come back bigger. There were smaller tales too. He loved phrases like streamline, consolidate, simplify, words that sound like order and often hide control. He liked to have the paperwork without the work. He thought if he said, "for the family," often enough, it would sound like love instead of leverage. The month after court, he tried calling. I let it go to voicemail. "We could talk," he said. "We could fix this. There's nothing to fix when the truth is recorded and the distribution is per the will." I saved the message and then saved my peace. The probate process is slow on purpose. Notice: inventory, accounting, objections, hearings, orders. It drags, which frustrates scammers who want fast, but it also lulls honest people into thinking they can look away. Don't. If there's a case with your name in it, deceased or alive, make sure the court has your correct address, your email, your phone, and a copy of your face attached to your ID. Show up. Boring is armor. I wish my dad hadn't left us a stage for this, but he also left us the script: equal shares, clear intent, a lawyer who had a clean file with a signed original will and proof of service. The will wasn't a surprise to anyone who'd listened. The surprise was how far someone would go to try to silence it. You might be wondering how Brian even got a death certificate. In our case, the court didn't require a certified original to file the petition. A scanned copy was enough to start the motion. That's a gap. I don't control the court's intake rules. I do control how fast I respond. As soon as I had notice, I brought proof. The judge didn't need a lecture. He needed a live person, a passport, and a lie on his desk to compare. There were moments that broke my heart anyway. Sitting with our dad's watch in my hand, thinking about the version of this story where I never saw that letter. People without family nearby, without a lawyer, without a habit of opening their mail the day it arrives, they get steamrolled. That's why I'm telling this. I want you to know what to look for and what to do when you see it. What finally closed the loop was small. The court's order establishing heirs. A single page, a judge's signature, a date. It looks boring. It is the opposite of fragile. When I picked up the certified copy, the clerk stamped it with a heavy seal that pressed the paper into a new shape. I slid it into a red folder with my passport copy and a sticky note that says, "If anything looks wrong, bring this first." Months later, the estate closed. The house sold to a family who loved the creaky floors. The accounts distributed. The last check arrived with a note from the lawyer that just said, "as intended." Not every story ends here. Some get dragged through years. Mine ended with a sentence my dad would have liked. "Brian? I hear about him. Small town, big ears. He's still telling stories. The difference is they're not landing where it counts." He tried to forge a document, and the document forged a path to a different office with 3 letters on the door. Maybe they'll charge him, maybe they won't. I don't wait on that. My win isn't a mugshot. It's a paper that says I exist and a distribution that says my father didn't raise a fool. Here's what I learned. Boiled down to something you can carry in your pocket. Paperwork can kill you on paper even when you're breathing. The way back to life is proof, persistence, and showing up in the room where the lie is supposed to live. Bring ID. Bring a witness if you can. Bring a folder that makes liars tired. Protect yourself. Monitor the probate docket. If a parent or spouse passes, call the probate clerk, give your contact info, and ask to be added as an interested party with service of all filings. Where e-filing exists, create an account and set alerts for your case. Is control contact points. Keep your mailing address, email, and phone current with the court, your parent's attorney, and any executor. Request notices go to you directly, and open mail the day it arrives. To prove the basics fast. If someone claims you're deceased, show up in person with multiple IDs, passport, driver's license, plus a letter from vital records if available confirming no death is on file for you. Ask the court to mark the forged document for referral. Islex again. Lock identity doors. Create or lock your My Social Security account. Place fraud alerts or freezes with the credit bureaus. Add voice passwords on bank-to-brokerage accounts. Use USPS in foreign delivery so mail changes don't sneak by. Paper equals power. Keep a simple red folder with copies of your ID, relevant court orders, and contact info for the clerk and any attorney. In emergencies, boring printed proof saves time and stops games. Stay safe.